All right, can you hear me? Bueno, cool. I have a bit of a stuffy nose, so please forgive me. Hopefully it goes away. I mowed my lawn today in February. It's ridiculous. Let me bring it over here so I can look at you. Okay. Oh. Any questions on the work so far? Homework, anything? It's all making sense. This is like the calm before the storm, because once JavaScript hits, it'll be fun. It's okay. Laura, don't look so sad. It's gonna be okay. No, JavaScript is good. I love JavaScript. It's just it's a different mind. Like you have to, I don't know, when it clicks, you're like, oh, okay. But it's a little painful, but it gets there. It's good. All right, let's see what we got here. We got everybody. Let me drag this out. Oh, that's not helping. How many? Okay. All right, cool. Okay, so week 3, only, well, I guess this week and next week. of HTML and CSS. Um, Today we're going to start talking about responsive layout, responsive design. Again, I have y'all on this screen over here, so if I'm looking over here, I'm really looking at you. So there you go. So far, what we've built has been pretty boxy and hard to um, like it'd be hard to put on a phone, right? Unless you like really specify for that. So we're going to learn ways that we can do that easier, and we can talk about mobile first, which I've mentioned a couple times, um, and different design patterns like that. So let's dive in. Same kind of flow as usual. We'll go over this and then talk about the um, debug and stuff like that. Okay, so Flexbox is one way that you can design for a responsive is a word you hear a lot, responsive design. It's built into CSS. There's nothing fancy. It's not a library we have to bring in or a package or anything like that. Um, and we're going to learn next week about Bootstrap, which is a library that we're going to use. Um, but know that everything we do like builds upon what we did before, right? So when we get to Bootstrap, you'll see that everything we're learning now and what we've learned over the past couple weeks, it's all just that under the hood, right? It's just libraries and things to make it easier for us to do things. So, like it says, Flexbox is a one-dimensional layout system. Um, so it arranges items in rows or columns, right? So we can make them um, more, what's the word, specific, I guess. It uses display like this for our property and then value like flex. Um, and as it says, this makes a container a flex container and it directs children to become flex items. And basically that just means they can move based on what's around them. And not like move like animation, like they're not going to spin in a circle, but adjust on the page based on what's around them. We'll see some examples here. So flex direction would be like the direction that you're going to do the flex. So either vertical or horizontal. And it's uh, split into rows and columns, right? So think about an Excel document. Columns go up and down, rows go side to side, right? Um, so rows are the default. So yeah. So actually this looks opposite of what I just said, but it's not. It's weird to say. Um, so if it's in a row, am I saying that wrong? Hold on. So these are columns, one, two, and three, which would be row. I think this is backwards. I think chat did not do this right for me. So what it should be, which we'll see, we'll map it out and see, um, is that you have columns going up and down and rows going side to side, right? Um, we will look at that in a minute. Yeah, so just go with me on this. Go with me. Okay. This is what I get for not checking ChatGPT's work. Okay. Um, so justify content, that is how we can place things in a certain position based on the row that we're in. So like it says here, space between. So if you do justify content space between, it's going to space things out so there's an even space between them. So if you have like, say you have two articles, right, on like the sides of the page. Sorry, all over there. Wait, there we go. You could have two divs basically and say, okay, I want justify content space between, and it's going to spread them out to evenly space them on the page. That makes sense. And then center is going to center them, right? So that one's pretty easy. Once you start doing this and messing with it, it really clicks and makes sense of how you can lay out your page pretty nicely. There's other ones like flex start and flex end, which, like it says, for flex start, it's gonna like put everything at the beginning. So if you have a div with three things in it and you do flex start, it's gonna kind of crunch them all together. And then flex end would be the other way. Space around is pretty cool. It's gonna instead of this one being space between, how they're all the way on the end, it's gonna push them together to make all the space around them the same. So they're not gonna be like squished together, but there'd be space on the outside as well. And then evenly is just gonna make sure it's equal space amongst the whole thing. All right. Align items. So this is the cross axis. So it's going to be your vertical. So if you justify content uh, center and then you do align items center, that's going to put it like smack in the very middle of the page, right? Or of the parent element. Okay. And it's got other ones like flex start and flex end. So it'd be at the very top or at the very bottom. Um, and then stretch and baseline. So stretch is going to fill the container height, so it stretches the whole way. Makes sense. And then baseline, I think it puts it like in the middle. I don't know. We'd have to look at that one. I don't think I've ever used that one. All right. Center can do is its own. Oh, it's just giving you an example of center there. Yep. So yeah. So if it's going to put it just center no matter what the how big or tall the one the parent is. Okay. Flex wrap. Flex wrap is cool. So if you um if you use flex wrap, so property value, um, then it's going to wrap to the next line. So you can see here we have item one, two, three, four, and five. So if we stretch this page out, then four and five are going to jump back up on that first line. But if we squished it down, then they're going to go down like we see it here, and they're going to keep going. So if we got it even smaller, three would jump down there, and then two, and then one, you'd have just a column with all of them in there. And then you can do it the reverse way as well, which would, I guess, would put one and then two and three, like backwards. Gap is pretty helpful. We use it for, you could call them like gutters, I think is what they're called. So it kind of, think about it sort of like a padding around something. Um, and it makes sure that it's like the same on each side. So yeah, it says replaces need for margin. So not padding, sorry, margin. All right. Just do So these are item properties. So to have a flex, you have to have a parent that has display flex, like it says right here. And then within that, the children elements are where you would put these sort of things right here. So if you had a div or a paragraph with display flex, and then you had a paragraph inside of it, then you could put flex grow, which is going to grow to fill the space. So as you like stretch, if you were to stretch out the your page, then it's going to like grow and keep going along with your page, which obviously no user is going and like making your page big and small or whatever. But I mean, they might, I don't know. But the point being, like if somebody was looking at it on a tablet, it's going to grow that big. If they're looking at it on a screen, uh, a laptop, it's going to grow that big. A phone, it's going to grow that big. So shrink, same thing, just the opposite. Oh, I never seen this one before. Flex basis. Interesting. Oh, okay, okay, that makes sense. So you can give it, it's kind of minimum value. So you say you're never gonna get smaller than or larger than this size. So that'd be pretty helpful. And then it just kind of shows some shorthand, sort of like we did with the border, how we did like one pixel solid color or whatever, like on one line. This is the same sort of deal. You could do 0, 0, 200. So don't grow, don't shrink, 200 pixel wide. That's pretty neat. Cool. You can align single items differently. So you would put it on the item that you wanted to center, and it should. And again, this is all within that flex parent. It would center based on itself, I think. Um, we'll have to look at that one and see. Yeah, well, there's so much like you could never know all this stuff in one brain. There's so many things that it can do. Okay, question. Let's see. You want to center a div both horizontally and vertically in the parent. What CSS do you need? So this is what I was talking about earlier. Um, the parent you would do display flex, and then for everything inside of the parent, then it's going to have the justify content center. So that's going to be the right and left. So it's going to be in the middle. And then a line item center is the up and down vertical. And then you're giving it a height. So has it has to have a height so it can't or so it knows like where center is, right? If you don't give it a height, then it doesn't really know. Cool. So the thing to remember is when you have this display flex, the styles that you want to give this being the parent are the styles that will affect the children based on the parent. Okay. And then like we talked about above here, these are styles that the child is gonna do um, based on the parent. I know that it's confusing sounding, it is, but um, these affect all children. These affect the children that you're gonna you do the styles on. If that hopefully that makes sense. Okay. Let's see. Position. Position is fun. So we're talking about the position of the element on the page. So right now, it's just as you go down the page, like that's where stuff is, right? Like you couldn't put like a div, like four divs down or a paragraph and expect it to show up above the first div, right? It's going to be in line wherever you put it. So what positioning does, it allows us to kind of break that that mold. All right. So there's three different types of positioning. There's static, which is the default position. So it's just kind of wherever it is. Um, like it says, normal document flow. It's going to be at top, right, bottom, or left. That like they don't. Sorry, let me take it back. It's normal document flow. The properties or values rather, top, right, bottom, or left, don't affect it. Like it's going to be in the page wherever it lands. So you don't ever have to really tell anything position static because it's already there, unless you were trying to override something that was not static before. Cool. So the two ones you will use quite a bit are relative and absolute. Relative is it's going to offset its normal position. So wherever it normally is, if you so in this example, you would say position relative, and then top 20, it's going to go 20 pixels from its normal position up 20 pixels, right? From the top 20 pixels from where it is. Okay. And we'll this is very confusing, but we'll get to coding this out and it'll make a lot more sense. And then left 30. So it's going to go from the left 30, right? Um, so relative is cool. So if you um, let's see. So let's say you wanted to I don't know, but you just want to offset something like this here. You just want to offset it just a little bit based on where it is. This is a cool tool to use. Absolute is even cooler because absolute takes it completely out of the flow. So you would give position absolute when you give it top and right 0, it's going to be at the very top and the very right of the page like this. Doesn't matter where you can put it at the very bottom of your HTML. It's going to show up there, very top right. Um, and these numbers, the 0 here, when you give it a number, like that's from wherever it is. So from the top, it would be 0. So if you gave it a top of 20 pixels, it would come from the top down 20 pixels. And then from the right 20 pixels, it would come in 20 pixels from the right. And you can give it left and bottom as well. Um, so if you have like a little chat buttons you see at the bottom of all screens basically nowadays, all sites, like those would be absolutely positioned to just hang out like right there at the bottom of the screen. There's one caveat to that we'll get to in a second. But that's what you can do. Basically anywhere on the page based on the position from where you're telling it. Like that's where absolute position goes. Yep. Okay. Here's some common patterns. So basically, we have a card class that we're telling it, okay, the card is going to be relative positioned. And then the badge within that card, I don't know why we give it relative here. Okay. The badge is absolute positioned. So the badge is going to be, uh, so if you do -10, this does the opposite of what you would think. So it actually would be up from the bottom, I believe. We'll have to get into that. But um, anyway, moving around, right? And then fixed. So if it's fixed with top left, let's say removed from flow. Oh, we didn't do fixed yet. Oh, okay, yeah, cool. Okay, so these fixed and sticky are two, what do you call them? So these first couple are like the main ones, and then these are like additional ones that uh, are pretty cool. So fixed, let's see, stays in place. Okay, yes, 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 yes. So fixed stays in place when you're scrolling. Okay. Um, so what is that? So hold on. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay, sorry. Okay, so fixed is going to stay on the screen when you're scrolling. So like whenever there's like a banner or something at the top and you're scrolling and it's like it stays there, right? That's what fixed does for you. So you could say we want it top zero, left zero, and width 100%. So it's going to be all the way across here. And then as you scroll, it's going to stay there. It's not going anywhere. So like you'll see on like I don't know, Nike or whatever, they're having a sale. It'll have a thing across the top that's stuck there. And as you scroll, it says save 20% or whatever. Sticky is cool. So sticky acts the same way, except for it is at a certain position that it does it at. So, as it says here, it's kind of a hybrid of these two, and it acts relative until you scroll past it, then it sticks. So let's say one of those, no, not a chat button. Oh, let's say you have different sections of your site, right? And as you're scrolling, like let's imagine Sticky right now was like a section of our site. As we're scrolling down, we're not to the section yet, but as soon as it gets to right there, it would stick and we could keep scrolling, but it would be stuck right there. Okay. So just like with fixed, except for that it actually does scroll until we get to it and then it sticks. Does that make sense? And we'll see that too. Pretty cool. Z-index is actually probably the most used one that I use. And the Z-index is so we have like X index, Y index, right? And Z is like this, right? Front and back. So if you need something to appear before or in front of something else, then you would give it a higher Z index than the thing behind it. And I think everything defaults to 0. So in our product at work, we have a lot of modals, or like pop-up boxes. And oftentimes we'll have to give it a Z index higher than 0, so it'll appear in front of everything else, right? And it's a pretty old school way to do stuff. There's probably easier ways now, but that's an example. If you had oh, there's this one website I saw one time that has this turtle that runs around the screen. It's not Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, it was a food place, but um, the turtle would basically run all over everything. So it would have a Z index greater than everything else so that it would always appear in front. Okay. Yep. Let's see.
Real quick, I just
Yeah.
want some clarification. So, could you consider the z-index, would that kind of be like layers in Photoshop or something?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And the closer to the viewer, the higher the number?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Exactly.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. Oh, this is a good example. It says you have a drop-down menu that appears behind other content. That happens a lot um, because the drop-down itself will initially will have the same z-index as whatever's below it. But when you click it and it opens, that content's going to go below what's there, right? Because the page reads top to bottom, your HTML does. So as that opens, it's going to be behind that whatever's below it. So you give it a Z index higher, then when it opens, it'll go in front. I know that it's backwards on my hands, but it makes sense, right? Like it's going to open in front of it so you can see it. All right. It's typography. So typography, we're just talking about, I feel like we talked about this pretty good already, but font families. This is all about how your font's going to look, right? So it can be, you can have its style of italic or bold. You can tell it how big you want it to be. Um, Line height is how far apart your lines are. Um, Letter spacing, like how far apart each letter is. So you can really get like really detailed and like exactly what you want your font to look like. Um, and so that's going to be like on the words themselves. Then your text property is going to be um, the like alignment of your text, the decoration, if it has a line through it or not, things like that. Uppercase, lowercase. Okay, and then this is kind of a cool one. You can truncate your text. So like this line has the ellipses. You can give it a text overflow of ellipses, hard word, and it'll cut it off like that. So it's kind of neat. Um, I don't really have an example where I would use that, but it's kind of cool. Talking about fonts, so obviously browsers have a ton of fonts that you can use without installing anything, but there's also a ton of fonts out there that you can download and bring into your projects. Um, Google Fonts is a really big one to use, but there's a ton of other ones. Um, and they each, when you bring them in, you have to do a link tag, sort of like what we do with our CSS, and give it the href of where the font is. And there's instructions typically on these sites, especially Google Fonts, that tells you like how specifically to do this. But then you can bring in like Roboto here. Um, you can bring that font in and then use it in your CSS. So you want to get real, uh, use stuff that's beyond just the regular browser stuff. We talked about before how there's several fonts in a line, and we always end with that default generic font, sans serif or serif. Um, and as we talked about, it's going to try to find the first one, the browser is. If it can't, it's going to go to the next one, and so on until it ends on whatever the default is. Right. Um, so you can so we know by now that we can target elements, we can target classes, we can target IDs, right? Like those are ways that we can get uh, get our styles to an element. We know that we can do descendant selectors, so we could do like if we want um, an image inside a paragraph, we could do like P space image, right? IMG, and that would be like every image within a paragraph is styled whatever way. We can also do uh, target elements based on their attributes. So, for example, this one is disabled. So, if in any input it has a property of disabled or an attribute of disabled, so this would say any input that has this attribute as true, disabled as true, is going to get this opacity of 0.5. So it's going to be like halfway see-through. And this one, so types, so all indexes have, or all inputs have a type, right? So type text, phone, email. So this is going to say any input with type text, get this style, and then so on. Yeah, it's pretty detailed one here. So like starts with, so you'll see this little bracket here. So that means starts with, and this will get us into something that we're not going to dive too deep into, but it's something to know, which is called regular expressions. We'll get into that a little bit more in JavaScript. But basically, what that means is um, it's a line of symbols that get searched to see if they exist within a certain uh, string or something like that. Um, String being characters like ABC 1 2 3. So that's kind of what we're leaning into here. So this little sign means starts with. This little dollar sign here is going to mean ends with. So we're looking for if basically in this part we're looking for a link, right? If so, it starts with HTTPS, make it green. If it ends with .pdf, so we're looking for a PDF file, then give it this thing here. Same thing here. We're doing if if the class contains with the little star button. So if you have class equals button or BTN, then it's going to be like this. And then contains words space separated. So if it can the class contains the word featured, right? So anyway, that's some deep stuff, right? But this is showing you the power of CSS, right? Like this stuff you would think, oh, I got to be in JavaScript to do some of this stuff, but it's really powerful that you can like pinpoint the things that you want even without using an ID or a class. Let me use class in here, but so cool. Here is a practical example. Oh, of above. So yeah, we're saying starts with, so we already saw that. Required email. Okay. All right. We already saw that. Cool. Okay. Um, Talking more about responsive design now. So in the head, we might remember that there were some meta tags whenever we did the bang symbol, and we'll look at this in a minute. Um, But this kind of sets up your site to be responsive, and that you're making it the initial scale of 1.0, sort of like a reset, but just in the meta tag up there. And then it says without it, mobile browsers will assume the desktop width. So this will give us kind of a clean slate for that. Okay. All right. Media queries. These things confused me so bad in the beginning. I just did not get it. I was like, what is going on? Um, and it sounds weird, like media query. Like what? That doesn't sound right. But all it is you specify how big or small the width of your page is until you want something to happen. Like you want, like let's say you had a button. It's a bad example. You'll have a button that's green, and you want to turn it red if it's on mobile. But if it's on desktop, you want it to be green. I don't know. What you can do with this at media here. So we're gonna have a container that's full width, right? And we're gonna say at media min width. So the minimum width, 768 pixels, right? So that's the minimum when this thing would happen, right? So that's the minimum width in which it would happen. So it says container width 750 pixels. So in our example, let's say this said button uh, red. So if we have it on a mobile screen, which is smaller than 768 pixels, then the button is going to be green in our example. But when it gets to tablet, which is bigger than 768, it's going to turn red, or it's going to whatever the opposite one that I said was, turn red. So if you're moving it around on your screen here, then you're going to see it happen. Obviously, a user is not going to do that, but they're going to see if they're on a tablet, it's green. Like maybe it's just an accident they've been on a tablet or something, so they hit it. If it's on a phone or a smaller screen, then it's not going to be there, or it'll be there, but it won't. It'll be green or red or whatever. The better thing would probably be just not to have it all. We'll see that too. And then you can go the opposite with it as well. You could do max width. So let's say on a mobile screen, you had something that you wanted to not show on a desktop. You could say max width like 124, 100 or 1024 pixels. So on the smaller screens, tablet and below, you'll see whatever it is, but on the bigger screen, you won't see it because of that media query. Okay. So again, it's just at media and then whatever the width is um, that you want the action to occur or you want the thing not to show or whatever. And then you put the styles within there that you want to be triggered. Hope I explained that okay. Again, it confused the crap out of me in the beginning, so we'll see it though. Here's some common breakpoints. So there are so many devices nowadays, so many different sizes that it's not going to be perfect. Like when I'm building apps and stuff, I'll have it on my phone and it'll be perfect. And then I'll go to my wife's phone and she has a larger phone than me and something will be messed up. And it's very difficult to do. So these are very general kind of ideas. Um, and even like people have those giant computers with or the screens with like the big wraparound and they're like 64 inches or whatever. They're even if you make it like 1200 pixels and up, it may look stretched out on their screen. So you just can't for everybody. But anyway, these are good. It says, yeah, they're guidelines, not rules. Cool. So mobile first, we talked about that. It's definitely, and as it says here, it's recommended. It is much easier to build up than to build down. And there's like one of my first uh, like projects on my like my first job was to build. We were building a desktop thing, and we're like, okay, well, we need it to look good on a small screen, and we had this whole big thing built out on desktop, and had to bring it down, and it was difficult. Um, so if you because you think about it, you on your mobile, you're probably going to have less stuff because you have less real estate, right? And so as you grow, you can then it's easier to add more because you have more space than to start taking stuff away as you go back down. Okay. Images. So images um, can scale down, but never uh, but never larger than their natural size. So yeah, so that makes sense, right? Because you don't want to like stretch it out to be all um, pixelated and all that stuff. Okay. Here's some responsive units. So we talked about pixels and REMs and things like that, like different sizes of things, right? There's a ton of different sizes. Um, some good ones to use for responsiveness are VW and VH, which is view width and view height. So you can make things based on the actual size of the screen the user is on. Because obviously, if you put 1200 pixels and they're on a phone, it's not going to look great. But if you use the view width and view height, then it's going to be based on the screen they're looking at. Same with percentages, like those are better to use because it's percentage of the parent or of whatever content there is. Clamp is cool. I don't think I've ever used it, but Clamp is cool because it'll like say, okay, you're gonna be this, like this is the minimum you're gonna be, this is what we want you to be, and then this is the maximum you can be. So it kind of clamps, if you think about it, like clamps in, okay, you're not gonna be smaller, you're not gonna be bigger, you're gonna be within this, preferably this. That makes sense. Okay. Um, so hiding and showing elements, that's probably for display, like that's probably the biggest use case we talked about earlier, the different types of display. This is because if you think about it, if you're on a mobile and there's things that aren't going to show up that would show up on a desktop. So those are still going to be in your code. You just want to hide them on the mobile because there's no room. And so you can do display none, take stuff away, and then display block is going to show it, completely in a block like a div or a paragraph. There's also display inline. So if it's like if you had two paragraphs you want to put on the same line, you can give them each display inline and they'll be on the same line. Mostly though, what I use anyway is I would use a media query and then have it like this, have like a mobile only class and a uh, desktop only class. So then as you can see, like mobile only is display none. So the minimum width is 768. So as it's growing, it's eventually whatever was going to show is not going to show, and vice versa, based on the screen size that you're on. Okay. Okay. There's a bunch of stuff on here about accessibility that we can go through. I want to leave that for y'all to read. So I want to get to showing you guys some of this, but it is good stuff. There's a lot of cool stuff about reducing motion. Um, Contrast is a really big thing with accessibility. Um, Having colors like text and background colors that are too close together is it's really hard to see for someone that's vision impaired. So yeah, color contrast. So these are definitely good things to check out. And I would say like as you're building, keep these in mind, and maybe not the first time you go through, you try to implement a bunch of these, but go back after you've got it kind of set up and say, okay, you know, what can I adjust or whatever to make it more accessible. All right. These are some common layout patterns. We'll build these real quick so we can show them. Okay. All right. Let me get some code over here so we can get some good stuff going. Great. All right, make a new file. Index two and styles dot CSS. Oh, hold on. I'm on the wrong day. Okay. And two. Okay. Let me grab this over here. Okay, so the default one went ahead and gave me that viewport meta that we saw. So we're already set up for that, which is good. We need to bring in our style sheet. So I'll bring it in here real quick. We need a link tag, right? Link. Rel is style sheet, and href is styles.css. Okay, now first thing we got to do, we got to test it, right? Make sure that our styles are actually working or is actually connected. So let's just do a body with a background color of pink. All right, so if I go over here and I open my Fiverr viewer. All right, so there it is. Woo, it's beautiful. Okay, right. Okay, so we'll build this nav bar real quick. Let's see. Okay. So I'm just going to do a div, and I'm going to give this a class of nav bar, and then we'll have some links in there in a second, but we'll do our styling real quick. Get rid of this. Okay, so we're gonna do a flex nav bar because um we want to show like on a regular page, right? We want to show the nav bar going across the top, but then when it gets to mobile, we don't want to show that anymore. We want to have like a button. Um, so in order to do that, we are going to do a display flex and a justify content space between. Actually, let me do this first. Let's do let's do, actually I'm gonna do a bunch of A tags. 10, three of those. And this will be um what do we want to do? Let's just one, section one. Two, three. Okay, and then we'll have div ID section one, two, three. Okay. All right. So each of these are going to have a class of navlink. Link. Oh, okay. 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 So if we look at our page now, we have nothing because we didn't give it anything to have. So section one, two, three. All right. So there we go. So as you can see, we already have, if I do this, oops, it's down. Okay. So in our navbar class here, we have display flex and then we have justify content space between. So you can see they're spread out with space between each one, right? So we're already getting that. So um, we can add some padding if we want to kind of keep them off the side and some height, but I think they're fine for now. Um, so with our nav links, so let me just go ahead and throw this in here, see what it does. Okay, let's see if that did anything. Oof, that's ugly. I don't know why we do that. Okay. All right, I think it's fine like that. Okay. All right. Um, we can do text decoration none on our nav links to get rid of the underline if we want. So if we do nav links, then we do text decoration none is nav link, not links. There we go. Then we say now they don't have the underline, right? So because a lot of the underline is typically not desirable. The blue and purple typically aren't either. We could change the color if we wanted to. But what we want to do is show how a media query works. So let's go back to our code here. And we're going to do a media query. So we do at media, and then we're going to give it just like this. we're going to say, okay, the goal here is to hide those nav links when we're on a mobile size screen. Okay. And we can add a hamburger button later, but the goal right now is just to make them disappear. Okay. So if we say when the screen gets to let's say it the other way, when a screen grows to a certain width, something will happen. In this case, when it is larger than mobile, you're going to see the buttons. Okay. When it's smaller than mobile, you're not going to see the buttons. So when the min width, so when the width is at least, in this case, we're going to say 768 pixels, then it's going to do something, right? And so what we want it to do, is that the opposite? Okay. So nav link, we're going to make the nav link not display. Oh, it has max width. That's why. Okay. So we're going to do a max width this time, max width. So when the screen reaches this max width, that's when the thing is going to happen. Okay. So the thing that we want to happen is we want to hide those buttons. I think I said that backwards. We're going to do it. Okay. Yes. Okay. So let's see. And when you have your dev tools out here, when you scroll, you can see right at the top there, almost pointed like it's it. Right up there, it went away, but it tells you how big your screen is, like right now. So as we go, we get close to 768, they went away, right? So they disappeared. So we go up past 768, they come back. There you go. So it's weird. It's weird to think about because I feel like it's opposite, but basically your links do not display if the max width is 768, right? I hope it makes sense in your head. It makes sense in my head, but it's hard to say out loud. But basically, yeah, when the screen is that width, this thing is going to occur. Okay, and it's going to occur because it's the max width, so it's going to occur um, like all the way. Like they're not going to disappear again, right? Like this way, you can disappear that way. Okay. So at this point, a hamburger button would pop up. You can think about it on your screen. And again, like the user's not pulling your screen around. Like they're just gonna see, okay, I'm on a mobile size, like here, right? So I'm on like an iPhone SE, right? They're just gonna see this. But if they were to visit your site on a desktop, then they're gonna see like the full thing. Okay. So just thinking about how your screen's gonna look on the different sizes for the um, different users that are going to be on different screens. Okay. All right. Let's see what else we should build real quick. We'll do a sticky footer. So this will be fun. Da, da. So we're going to give our body a couple things. We're going to give it a min height of 100 view height. And we're going to do our display flex. And our flex direction is going to go to column. Oh, this is yeah, I need to show this. Okay, we're going to have a main section, which we're going to give a flex of 1. And this is something, so when you're doing flex, display flex like this, you give the rest of the page these flex of 1 or flex of 2. I think it goes up to 6. Um, and that's how it's going to separate it out. So if we had like a main and then like let's say like a section 1 or something. So we had like a section, well, like we have with the 3 sections here. Like we would give each one of these a flex of 2 probably to make up 6 spaces. So it would put those on the page evenly based on the flex. Okay, that makes sense. Okay. So let's see. I'm gonna give it a, so you can give, I don't know if we went over this, but you can give an ID and classes to the same element. Okay. So this has ID so that it can be referenced basically right here, but you can also give it a class. Um, so we'll give it a class of sections class. So we'll give that to each of these three. So then instead of main here, we could say sections. Oh, we could say dot sections because class and give like a flex of 2. And that should, oh, there's nothing in my sections. Hold on. There we go. So you see how they're evenly spaced apart like that. And we didn't have to go in and say, hey, give me a, you know, 200 pixel height or anything like that. This went ahead and with flex pulled them all like evenly apart. So if we look at our sections here, so you can see section 1 has this flex 2. If we got rid of that, see it kind of pulled them all back up there together, and then that puts them all back out, right? So this sections class is what's doing that for them. So that's a nice way to kind of get it all um, spaced out that way. There's so much about Flex that I'm rushing through this. I know we only have an hour, but Saturday we'll really dig into it and build cool stuff. Let me finish the footer. And that's probably the last bit we'll get to do. Okay, so let me go back here. You know, the main. Let's flex 1. I'm gonna comment this out for now. Oop, and comment out these guys. We'll just have a div. Oh, sorry, let's have a main tag. Use a semantic tag. Okay, and then we're gonna have a footer there. Okay, that should do it. Okay, I am a footer. Oh, uh, put this in a paragraph here. Oh, no. Okay. Okay, so you can see, we can't see because this little thing's in the way. Get out of here. That the footer, it stays down there, right? Like it's main is taking up this whole space because it has that flex of 1. And so the footer has to stay below it because it doesn't have its own flex. Okay. Because you notice we didn't give the footer any styling in here. We just gave the main flex of 1. Um, and so since most of your stuff will go in the main section, then that's okay to do, right? Because it's your main is going to take up most of it, and then your footer is just going to chill at the bottom. Um, if you wanted to, you probably wouldn't do this with a footer, but like we saw with sections, if you wanted it to be its own evenly spaced section, then we could give it a flex of 1 as well. Oops. Oh. So then you can see it's taken up as much as the main, right? Since they both have flex of 1. Now, if we gave main a flex of 2 and footer just a flex of 1, then main's going to take up twice as much as footer is. So you can see there's main and then there's footer. Okay. Right. GPS, that's pretty good. Okay. I blew through that. Super speed. It's good stuff. Questions? Does that make any sense at all? A little bit, I hope. Okay, good. All right. If no questions, then I'll just quickly show you uh, the debug stuff once I find it. Oh, I wanted to show you real quick. I added like, uh, a section. So we have the homework section, which is where we put the homework, and then review and exercises section. So this will have review is what we go over on Wednesdays, and then the debug and the read code. So it'll all be here, a lot easier to find than digging through the thread. And then you can go back and look at other stuff as well. So since we're into that, here's the debug here. Same kind of thing. You'll just throw your broken code in your VS Code and check it out. Don't forget to don't forget to use your browser tools. Very helpful. Um, so yep, go over that. And we'll go over it Saturday morning. And then where'd I go? The read code is here also. Yep, just about flex, navbar. Ooh, box model math, very nice. And positioning, yep. Oh, and flex box alignment. Cool. Other than that, I don't know if y'all had a chance to look at the certificates stuff in here, but I'll just kind of show you real quick. Oh, that's all word. Okay. Um, there are, let's see. Nope, go back. So within here, there's sections somewhere. Maybe it's not in the HTML one. In the CSS one, um, there's sections like you have to do for the certificate. I can't find it right now that I'm.
There's some that say certificate project that
Yeah,
you
yeah, that's what I was looking
like. There's
for.
one at the bottom. Oh, there
Oh,
was one.
right
There's a
there.
yeah. I've seen a few of them like that.
Oh, you're right. Yes, that's what I was looking for. Yeah. So these projects are required in order to be able to take the exam and get the actual certificate. Um, so if you have time and you want to deep dive and actually get the certificate, like these are good good things to do. They're not going to be like super quick, like they're going to take some time, but um, yeah, it's good. Anything, if you plan on making a career out of this, anything you can show that shows what you're doing, what you've um, done is helpful. So, okay, that was fast. If you have any questions, please reach out. We're definitely, we're here to help. Um, other than that, if no one's got anything right now, then I guess we'll see you virtually on Saturday. Cool.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Yep.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye. Thank you.
Yep. Later. Where's my phone? Hey, out here.